Florence, Italy. Although it may be small, the birthplace of the Renaissance has a lot to offer its visitors. Stroll hand in hand down the narrow streets that have remained unchanged since its glory days and admire the centuries-old architecture that tells 1,000 tales. When it's time to dine, find out why Fiorentina cuisine has become an international label of quality, or visit the surrounding hills that are rich in wine. Chefchaouen, Morocco. Tucked away in the Rif Mountains, Morocco's Blue City is one of the prettiest in the country, with narrow alleys and ornate doorways all washed in a beautiful shade of blue. Romantic activities abound, whether you're admiring the delightful old Medina, bathing in mountain streams, or absorbing the fantastic culinary scene by candlelight. Sedona, USA. By day, the red rocks of Sedona provide a stunning backdrop to a hike. But by night, it is the starry sky that will have you spellbound. With over 300 clear nights a year and stretching for miles and miles with no light pollution, Sedona is one of the best places in the world for stargazing. India. A relaxing getaway doesn't get much more spiritual than visiting the birthplace of Ayurveda, one of the world's oldest holistic healing systems developed more than 3,000 years ago. Unwind in one of the many renowned spas or hire one of the symbolic thatched roof houseboats for a day on the waters, floating past lotus-flowered rice paddies and ancient Hindu temples. China. Encompassing tiered rice terraces, dense jungle and snow-capped mountains, a visit to Yunnan will give an insight into the best of China's varied landscape. The charming and traditional mud brick houses of the province's villages are slowly being turned into galleries, inns and cafes, and the roads are quickly improving for ease of access around the beautiful region. Madagascar. If you and your significant other are outdoor lovers, Madagascar is a dream destination. Whether you want to scale sandstone canyons, trek through dense rainforest or float in the crystal clear sea, the most romantic place on the island is the impressive Avenue of the Baobabs, where you can stroll down the dirt road and admire the island's unique and imposing trees that can reach up to 98 feet tall and 800 years old. Portugal. Famed for its production of port, the city was made for a romantic dinner for two. Riverside bars and restaurants let you take in views of the mighty Douro River over a glass of the deep red wine. As a city that revolves around the production of its signature drink, the cobbled streets of its center are crammed with bars, brunch spots and trendy restaurants that bring the historic city into the modern world. Alberobello, Italy. Nestled in the heart of Puglia is the incomparable town of Alberobello, a small hobbit-like destination that was given UNESCO World Heritage status thanks to its collection of some 1,500 trulli meander through the characteristic wide conical roofed houses that cascade down the hillside in Rione Monte, where residents invite you to sit in Trello bars, browse Trello shops and admire Trello homes. France. Sat on the border between France and Germany, the Alsace region has long been influenced by the two countries' architecture, language and food. A wander through Strasbourg is a wander back in time. Start in Petite France with a visit to one of the ancient windstubs, Alsatian taverns, by the canal, marvel at the magnificent Gothic cathedral in the city centre, and visit the modern European Union Quarter that is home to the Second European Parliament. Vietnam. Hoi An is one of the few Vietnamese towns that has escaped the 21st century curses of traffic and pollution, making it a perfect destination for a serene escape to Asia. Grand architecture lines the riverside, whilst in the old town little has changed, with the remaining Chinese temples, Japanese merchant houses and ancient tea warehouses. USA. Many often overlook South Carolina's Charleston for the groves of its sister city Savannah. However, Charleston remains just as hospitable and boasts a wealth of historic romanticism in the form of antebellum architecture, magnolia-lined streets and the sound of carriage rides as horses clip-clop down the cobblestones and transport you back to the 18th century. Yogyakarta. Indonesia. Yogyakarta represents for many the soul of Java, where ancient customs proudly remain and a sultan still heads the region. Although the center is full of cybercafes and malls, venture to Borobudur, one of Indonesia's most important archaeological sites, and discover serenity amidst the 504 Buddha statues that were built here in the 9th century, with spectacular views at sunset. Paros, Greece. In the shadows of Santorini lies the island of Paros, where the whitewashed houses and romantic sunsets of Greece's most popular island can still be found. Unique to Paros are the quaint, charming fishing villages of Nausa and Parakia and isolated beaches for couples looking to escape Santorini's crowded hillsides. Hungary. The Hungarian capital's first bridge is the most romantic spot in the city, offering views of the mighty Buda Castle in the background and the length of the fast-flowing Danube flowing beneath. Perched on a geographical fault line, Budapest is also famous for its 120 thermal baths that bubble across the city, ranging from Turkish bathhouses to Art Nouveau-inspired waters. Lofoten Islands, Norway. Draped across the Norwegian Sea are Norway's Lofoten Islands that shelter small villages, deep fjords and unrivaled landscapes. Set far above the Arctic Circle, the area also lays claim to some of the world's most magical natural phenomena. Admire the flickering beauty of the northern lights and the glowing midnight sun. Mendoza, Argentina. Skip the cliché wine tour of South Africa's wine country and instead head to the desert town of Mendoza in Argentina. When you're not browsing the region's fine vintages or touring the vast vineyards, a romantic horseback ride through the region is the perfect way to absorb views of the Andes rising in the distance like a local. Islands, Nicaragua. The Caribbean is laden with islands that boast romantic sunset views and idyllic pristine beaches. But its best-kept secrets are the Corn Islands just off the Caribbean coast of Nicaragua. Bathed in rose-gold sunsets when the evening comes, and sprinkled with colorful wooden houses, the isolated island is devoid of tourist developments and complexes and replete with beautiful, isolated beaches. Sintra, Portugal. Set between the mountains and the sea, Sintra is the capital of Romanticism. In the 18th and 19th centuries, writers came here to experience the majestic historical heritage, luxuriant nature, cosmopolitan culture and opulent gastronomy. Follow in their footsteps with a stroll past the city's colorful architecture and cliff-top trails. Naxos, Greece. Although Naxian wine has long been considered a useful antidote to a broken heart, the island itself is one of Greece's most romantic destinations. A quieter alternative to the luxurious Mykonos, Naxos is 4 times its size and boasts a hugely varied landscape, with dozens of trails to be found around the island that allow you to find the perfect spot to watch the sun go down. Lake District, England. Home to rolling countryside, craggy fells and marvelous stretches of water, England's Lake District holds a romantic aura that has inspired writers, poets and artists for centuries. Whether you take a boat over Windermere, explore the trails surrounding Derwent, or sit in a pub garden at Buttermere, spellbinding views are never far away. Portofino, Italy. Rivaling Italy's more famous Cinque Terrace is the equally romantic Portofino, a picture-perfect coastal village that lies in the Italian Riviera. Its characteristic brightly colored houses line the harbor, where glamorous yachts sit in charming contrast to the old fishing village. Newfoundland, Canada. For the ultimate romantic escape, visit the isolated shores of Newfoundland in Canada, an island that moves to its own beat. With a different time zone to the mainland and a lilting old-world dialect, it really is in a world of its own. Explore the rocky crags, marvel at the drifting icebergs and spot the occasional puffin. Kyoto, Japan. Kyoto is best known for its historic shrines, pagodas and temples, of which there are said to be over 1,000, as well as the iconic cherry blossom trees that frame them. Kyoto is picturesque all year round. From February to summer the blossoms bloom, the Shinryoku, the new green of April, begins in spring, and the brilliant autumn foliage begins to show in November. Okavango Delta, Botswana. Regarded as Africa's finest wildlife refuge, the Okavango Delta is full of once-in-a-lifetime experiences, whether you're wildlife spotting, paddling down a waterway in Amokoro, a traditional dugout canoe, or falling asleep to a soundtrack of croaking frogs. And with vast plains that stretch for miles, the red and orange glow of the Botswanan sunset is epic. Bergen, Norway. Surrounded by 7 hills and 7 fjords, Bergen beguiles anyone who visits. Its timeless and iconic houses are as charming as they are unique. An important seafaring city throughout history, now Bergen is home to attractive museums, art galleries and cultural events that make it one of Norway's most vibrant cities. Torres del Paine, Chile. Although most visitors to Torres del Paine, considered to be South America's finest national park, come to see its immense eponymous granite pillars, most stay for the wealth of other adventures to be had here. Whether you hike, bike or kayak, the colors of azure lakes, blue glaciers and emerald forests will make for a romantic backdrop. Niue Island, Tanzania. Zanzibar may be the largest of Tanzania's islands, with honeymooners aplenty flocking to its shores, but just a couple of miles away is the lesser-known Niue, an idyllic island surrounded by an atoll of breathtaking coral reefs. Set yourself up in one of the island's exclusive bandas and be taken away to paradise. Rajasthan, India. Live out your own fairy tale romance in Rajasthan, a jewel in India's crown. The region boasts every facet of Indian culture, from magical palaces and magnificent forts to vibrant festivals and epic wildlife encounters. Even the transport is regal. Perch between the humps of a camel in the midst of the desert or take a hot air balloon ride over the ancient temples. Varadero, Cuba. Havana is the shining star in Cuba's tourist galaxy, but step away from the crowded streets of the capital and venture further east along the northern coast until you get to Varadero, home to an uninterrupted 12-mile stretch of white sand beach that many claim is one of the Caribbean's finest. Fuschlssee, Austria. Lake Fuschlsee lays claim to the clearest water in the Salzkammergut region, boasting beautiful palatial hotels that fringe its shores. Its water is so pure, in fact, that you can drink it and see 6 meters below its surface. The many hiking trails offer spectacular views of the mountainous region, but once you've worked up an appetite, head to a restaurant on the water's edge for delicious freshly caught fish,